After so many years of writing, producing, and directing for Broadway plays, Lin-Manuel Miranda finally makes his screen directorial debut about the man who inspired him to do so in the first place. This is my review of Netflix's Tick, Tick, Boom. On the cusp of his 30th birthday, a promising young Jonathan Larson navigates love, friendship, and the pressures of life as an artist in New York while reckoning with the question, what do we do with the time we have? Now, before I properly start with my review for Tick, Tick, Boom, I want you to let me know your thoughts down there in the comments below if you were familiar with this musical, if you're familiar with Larson's work, with Rent, anything and everything down there in the comments below. If you like movies and TV, this is the place to be, so make sure to click that subscribe button if you like what you see here so you don't miss any future conversation on your favorite movies and TV. So I'm going to structure this review kind of in a different way than we usually do because a lot of things that I like in this film also I had a lot of issues with, so a lot of them really fall into the mixed category. I think Andrew Garfield is doing a stunning job. His performance is phenomenal, is just as good as you've heard. Not only like an acting performance, but the dude can belt out, he's playing piano, and he has little nuances in his performance that navigate the threshold of what a screen performance is and what a theater performance is. And that was a very deliberate choice, clearly, by Miranda as a director in this, and Garfield delivers on every level on that. Thematically, I also naturally connect with this character because I don't live in New York, but I struggle with a lot of the same things that he's struggling with, coming into a big city and trying to make the dream come true. You have all these interesting struggles throughout the film and conflicts where it's just the life of an artist and the natural struggles that one encounters with that. And in the context of Miranda directing this, it's a celebration of an extraordinarily creative mind, and I think everyone who has a creative side to them, anyone who seeks shelter in trying to express themselves creatively, I think there's something in this for you, like it was for me. As far as the themes that this film is tackling, I was fully into it. But there is a framing in this film that distracts from it all for me. So the framing of this film is the musical Tick, Tick, Boom, which is Jonathan Larson telling the story of Jonathan Larson coming up with this musical called Superbia that supposedly was going to be his big break before he turns 30, that he was finally going to make it. And I think this framing takes constantly a lot away from the emotional power of this film, the emotional potential that this film could have had. There are a lot of times where the film is telling this story of Jonathan Larson as he's coming up with Superbia, but then we keep cutting to Jonathan Larson in the play Tick, Tick, Boom telling this story. So it's a story within a story within a story, and the jumping back and forth is constantly distracting. Not only is it distracting, I feel that Miranda, being that this is his directorial debut, he doesn't really get a hold of it all really well, which is natural. This is a very unconventional film structure or storytelling structure, so he hasn't really caught on to what he needs to do. So the film is quite literally rough around the edges. There are even times where it feels tone deaf as we jump between the story of Jonathan Larson writing Superbia and then Jonathan Larson performing Tick, Tick, Boom. There's a moment in the past where I was really being emotionally pulled in, where Larson is having an argument with his girlfriend, played by Alexandra Shipp, who is just as spectacular as Garfield, and I feel no one is talking about her. And as they're having this emotionally potent argument, and there's this song that is completely unfitting when it comes to tone, and it just pulled me out of the film. And you have moments like this throughout the thing. I was much more connected with Larson as a struggling artist who is seeing his life around him crumbling down, with his girlfriend having her own plans and wanting to walk away from the relationship because he's so dead focused on this supposed great play that he's going to write. Then his best friend is walking away from the artist's life because he doesn't see a future in it and he needs financial security, and then he's running out of the clock because he's turning 30, which was a part of the film that I really never connected with. Because of these two levels, the play that is telling the story and the actual story, the film just feels a bit messy structurally and overall unfocused narratively, where those themes are so strong but they don't fully come across in execution. So throughout this film, I was constantly struggling with trying to emotionally connect with what was going on and being cut away from the story that I was enjoying into the tick tick boom play. So I just don't think that translated well to film, especially because there are certain parts where on a film, on a visual medium, you have moments where certain parts of the lyrics just don't need to be there at all, as they're describing what we're literally seeing. And so again, that constantly took me out, as a lot of times the tick tick boom part of the play that he's performing interfered with the emotional story I was trying to get invested in. Another issue that I had with this film is that while narratively, I like that this entire play, the tick tick boom part of the play, is Larson confronting himself with all his past mistakes and what he did to his girlfriend and how he acted towards her and his best friend and everyone around him, as again, he was so dead focused on making this play work because it was gonna be his big thing. To me, he becomes utterly unlikable. It was hard for me to keep rooting for this person, as a lot of times he felt entitled, he felt utterly selfish, and there's not really a progression, narratively speaking, until we get to the tick tick boom Jonathan Larson, who's performing all of this and acknowledges the past mistakes he made. But to me, there was a constant disconnect between these two Jonathan Larsons. There was one that was making a lot of mistakes and I didn't like him, and then there was one that realized his mistakes, but there's a middle, there's not exactly an arc that I felt he went through. And that is a danger that you run into when it comes to biopics or any film particularly based on real life events. I don't know how faithful this is to the play, I don't know how faithful this is to Jonathan's life, I'm just judging the film, and to me there wasn't really a progression from point A to point C. The point B was missing entirely. That progression was just not there. Miranda makes a ton of artistic choices that make him stand out as a storyteller, that I appreciated what he was going for in concept, but in execution I felt like it took away from the film and didn't allow me to fully emotionally connect. As I was getting into the film, then he did a certain other thing that took me completely out. I admire a ton about Tick Tick Boom. Thematically, this is a film I resonated with. This is kind of a film that is made for me, for my life choices that are so similar in certain ways to Jonathan Larson, but as a film, I just couldn't get into it as much as I wanted it, as much as the film clearly wanted me to. Tick Tick Boom has a ton of qualities that I found myself gravitating towards when it comes to thematically. An artist seeing his life around him crumbling down and losing everything that gave him a respite of hope. I wish we could have entirely focused on that, and maybe a more seamless and standard structure could have helped the film a lot, as every time I was getting emotionally invested, I was constantly taken out because of the actual play that was being performed about this story. The layers present in the film when it comes to story within a story within a story just took away entirely from me, and I just couldn't fall in love with it. The music is good. The performances are so strong, again, not only from Garfield, but from Alexander Shipp and everyone else around him. Ultimately, it comes down to me really enjoying certain parts, but definitely not the whole as much, as certain artistic choices ultimately took a lot away from the potential of the film. I'm giving Tick Tick Boom a B-. I leave this one disappointed, but hey, I'm the odd man out, so I want you to let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. What did you think about Tick Tick Boom? Have you seen the play? Have you not? Let me know anything and everything down there. Just start the conversation, because it's always the most important part. And while you're down there, make sure to click the subscribe button if you enjoy what you saw here, so you stay tuned for any future conversation about your favorite movies and TV. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back very soon with reviews for Eyes of Tammy Faye and many others, and I hope to see you there. So until then, make sure to check out my Wheel of Time episodes 1 and 2 review or my Cowboy Bebop Netflix review. All of those are on the channel, so I hope to see you in those. So until then, love each other and love the movies.